Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Waypoint Media Club, which is like a book club, but for other forms of media. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about WandaVision, Episode 3. Now, something that I said this entire time. This is not a second take. Anyway, above me from Waypoint himself is Austin J. Ernst.
That's me. Hello.
Next to him is friend of the show, Jim Tasty, a.k.a. Brett.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here.
And below him is another friend of the show, Lear Jass. All right, guys. Holy shit, that episode.
Yeah. Man, it's just been so fantastic, man. Like I was looking at all these Easter eggs and stuff, and it's so intricate. I can't believe, I don't think I've seen a show like this layered.
No, and we are getting closer to they're slowly peeling this off, slowly pulling back the curtain, and I've seen a lot of people say that they wish they would go faster. Does anyone else feel that way?
No, I love it.
I love the ride because after this, it's going to be over, and you're never going to be able to watch this show the same way. So I'm loving the journey.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wish it was going faster, but I'm happy that it's not. It's don't give me what I want. Tell me what you want to tell me.
I will say that I think it will go. I wish it would go a little faster, but I also personally am not a huge fan of sitcoms. So, I want it to just go to the next Marvel beat, to the next Marvel beat, to the next Marvel beat. The sitcoms don't do it for me all that much, but that's also just me.
Yeah, fair
See,
enough.
all these episodes make me so emo because of all the sitcom call-outs. It's I love it so much. It's so stupid, but I get so there were so many Brady Bunch references, and I was like, this is my shit. This is everything I needed Marvel to be. Is sitcoms and weird. I audibly gasped at parts of this episode.
Same, and okay, so let's discuss it. This one is the 70s episode, mainly based off of the Brady Bunch, as you could tell. Lauren, answer this because you have a degree in this. Did acting change all that much between decades? Because I feel like they didn't feel all that different in the 60s episode, whereas the 60s versus the 50s, there was a bigger gap.
Yeah, so in the 50s, television was very new, and what was being done was very everybody was just kind of figuring it out as they went. And when you did the 60s and 70s, it started becoming this the true idea of the heightened perfect family. And the really only big shift from the 60s to the 70s in style was obviously they could now use color, so they could play with a lot more filming. And for storylines, they really just started to get away from the nuclear family. A lot of the sitcoms from the 50s and 60s, it's either couples without kids or couples with 2 children. Leave It to Beaver, the one with the cowboy, the Charlie something show. It was not one of my favorites, but it was all about a family of 4 living in a small town, where with the 70s you started getting into the Brady Bunch and more blended families, and the 70s was when you started seeing sitcoms where rich people would go pick up children from playgrounds and be like, you're my child now. But as for acting, there wasn't a big tonal shift. It's when the 80s and 90s and you get into the very special episodes, and it's a feel-good lesson that the acting really started to shift into.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because I didn't notice that big of a difference in the acting, but I did notice how weird the background was behind Herb, and even the wall next to his hedges just looked like it was out of a elementary school play. It didn't look like a real wall, and I felt like that added to it.
Yeah, sound stages were very different. It was much more like stage shows where they had these big painted flats behind them, because obviously they didn't have green screens. Mm-hmm. So it was either you built a full set or you put up flats. And how they would film it is they would make sure the focus, the camera was completely focused on the actor, and so the background's blurry regardless, and you can't really tell that it's just a wooden flat.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any thoughts on just the 70s style to it before we get to the plot?
Yeah, I'm not a television expert, but it just brought me back to when I was 5, 6, 7, and there were still reruns of Brady Bunch, Partridge Family, and things like that you could catch on an odd hour back in the day. And so it just made me just totally be like, oh damn, like I remember watching certain episodes of the Brady Bunch and then kept picking up references from the show and just been like it just like uh this show just does such a great job of paying homage to like every era they've covered so far and really doing it justice. So I was just really digging that.
Yeah, definitely. And like they put so much focus into like these minuscule details. Like I remember talking to Leon on the phone afterwards, where I was just like, that trope of how they used to hide when actresses would get pregnant and they didn't want to write the baby into the show. How they would just, you really saw it in the 80s and 90s, but like it started in the 70s. They're just like, oh, we're just gonna hide it.
I also love
Bettany.
oh my god, thank you. I blanked on his last name. His long 70s hair and those glasses. I was like, I'm into this.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
could just be dressed like this for the rest of the
Hey.
series and I'd be okay with it.
There was also that scene on the opening where he was like ripped in like a really tight button shirt, and I
I
was like,
noticed
oh my
that too, but I was just like, damn.
That is a Charlie's Angels homage, because that's how they used to dress, in these really tight button downs and these like suede blazers and the necktie. And like Charlie was dressed like that, and then all the angels would dress in like the female version, and I loved it. Like, it looks hilarious. Because it's just, you don't expect it from Vision to be like, hello, I'm jacked.
Yeah. Well, he's not jacked. He's Vision. But in terms of like actual plot, this is what happens when you're cold at 10 p.m. But it's fine. It's fine. As for actual plot, it's like, okay, so Wanda's pregnancy happened in a matter of like 10 minutes.
It
And-
was literally like a day, right?
Yeah. Which I want to touch on that for a second, because I feel like the rules are starting to change, but like not that like Marvel's not keeping up with the continuity rules, like it has to do with something, but like maybe I misunderstood it. In the jump between the 50s and 60s episode, I took it as every time they got close to getting caught, Wanda would like reboot her life in like this new style. And while the people stayed the same, I never felt like there was a memory of the previous episode with the hearts versus the memory versus when she was like talking to Dottie in the second episode. And then meanwhile in this episode, she's like, I have to hide that I'm pregnant because I wasn't yesterday. So like, I don't know if maybe I misinterpreted during the first two, but
No, I see what you're pointing out. That because sitcoms like usually after the first like one episode airs, whatever happened that episode like could just not have ever be brought up again in the next episode. I totally get that. That is a good point too. Up in this quirky world that Wanda has created, the way that it is, the through line, how that works. We don't really know that yet entirely.
yeah.
Yeah, because as an extension of that, like, kind of jumping around, but just like certain characters are more aware of what might be going on versus others that we've seen. So, which ties into kind of what you were saying, Jordan, of like, okay, like they're rebooting it, but at certain moments, or you thought it was at like every episode, like just changing it up. But yeah, I'm still not entirely sure, like who knows what and what. I mean, right, like no one really knows what's going on completely yet, but it is fascinating to see. Yeah, because I don't know what the reason is for changing eras. Yeah, if there is a reason, I'm sure there is. But
Yeah.
it is just fascinating to think about what that reason could be.
Yeah, again, I always felt like in the first episode and then in the second episode especially, where it's like she gets emotional and then the color starts to appear. It's like every time they get close to getting caught, she's just like, okay, reboot. But there's a lot of indication now that some people are aware what's going on. And I'm wondering if it's like that has the memory of like the previous sitcom not affecting or being in their minds has to do with Wanda's powers becoming less stable.
Yeah, I also think Wanda might not have the control she thinks she does.
Yeah.
Like, that she's not fully fooling everybody who lives on this cul-de-sac.
Yeah, which I also think that's definitely like that they've basically confirmed that now, which I think you were saying last week.
Was so excited when they pulled out and showed the Westview sign. I texted one of my friends. I was like, I fucking told you that I think she took a street captive, and like, because like the big thing that like, Agnes knowing what's going on, but then when they started talking about Geraldine not having a home and that she just appeared and she didn't have any family and she doesn't have a home, and like now she's just here and nobody knows where she came from. Like, it's just so cool because it just like I still like I've never watched a show where episode 3 I still have no idea what's going on and I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. And that's like exciting about this, where I'm like, oh, because I'm sure we all have slightly different theories now, even though like we know one level of it.
Yeah.
I think it's either they took advantage of her and brainwashed, they as in I don't know exactly yet, but they brainwashed her into kind of helping them in the process of doing whatever their goal is, or they just saw what she's doing and then jumped on that kind of a thing. I don't know which scenario is true or if it's even remotely even close, but
yeah,
those two where she I think it's she thinks she's in control but she's actually not, and she doesn't even know what she's in control of. Just in those extreme moments she has some kind of cognitive reason to like fight against it. It's like it's pain, like emotional pain, and she's just kind of like pushing it down again.
And like every time she starts to remember, like you see it, like she'll move and her eyes will change. It's like she will basically tell herself to forget and like bring herself back into this reality she's made.
Yeah, I think she is aware of it on some level in terms of what she's actually doing. Because my interpretation was at the end of 3, at the end of the episode when Geraldine brings up Ultron, like she clearly like has a shift of like what's going on.
Yeah.
And like especially in her mannerisms, and she literally like eats her out of that reality.
It seemed more abrupt though. Like it didn't seem like, oh my god, you're on to me. It seemed more like, wait, what? I'm sorry, what did you just say?
It's almost
kind
like
of a thing.
Because their powers still exist in like the sitcom universe, they know to hide those, and when those start to slip, the like how affected she is by the outside world in her memories isn't as strong. But the second someone says the name of someone who shouldn't exist in this world, like Ultron, she's like,
yeah,
that changed everything. Like she fucking went off.
She seemed angry though. That's what I got from it.
I think she eliminated anything that causes her pain. And so yeah, she has a twin brother, but like it doesn't go much deeper than that because like she doesn't want to think about it. And mentioning Ultron is like, oh, lost my brother, I've lost the man I'm in love with, like none of this is real. Also, how the fuck do you know that, and how did you get in here?
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like in sitcoms when there are therapists that are like, well, why don't you talk to me about this? Like, it felt like somebody going in trying to get information, which I also love that it really felt to me, at least, that Sword sent Monica in there and was like, pretend to be somebody, find out information, why she's doing this, who's doing this, like, what's happening. And then when Wanda figured out what was going on, threw her out of the universe.
Yeah.
To me, that response seems similar to, because you have to remember she was experimented on, probably in the harshest ways imaginable. But that response, that anger, it seems like the typical response of someone who is in denial of trauma. Since the pain that I think they're inflicting, like Pietrov and all that, and Ultron, and it seems like painful trauma, and that's how people react when they're in denial. They get angry. So
yeah.
I also saw that like in the movies, she tends to do that little head twist when she's upset, like in Endgame when she lands in front of Thanos and she goes, "You took everything from me." Her head's at a slightly angled. So like that's her, I guess, angry face. And then this time it went full 90 degrees. Like, bitch, the fuck you just say?
I still love the Thanos' line after everything for me. I don't even know who you are. It's just like, well, yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
because I keep forgetting that for Wanda, to go into that Endgame scene, like that's like mere moments after she witnesses Vision getting murdered. So like I always like I'm like, yeah, it's like literally like no time at all, which is insane. But yeah.
I also loved the actors in the commercials have been the same in every episode, and I'm wondering if those are supposed to be her parents.
That's what a lot of people are thinking.
Yeah,
We've never seen her parents.
No.
yeah. That's
Also-
what I was wondering. Like, I think last week I was like, I think it's her parents because all the events in the commercials tie to her past in some way, and it would totally be like a little extra nugget to throw in there, being like, yeah, the lady's her mom, and the dad who was the guy in the first two, was like her dad.
Yeah. The commercial in this episode, the only reason I knew the reference was because of a middle school and high school chorus teacher I had who would quote "Hell gone, take me away" every time we were annoying her, and we thought it meant about hell. And she's like, "No, like it's a bath soap commercial." And like she showed it to us, and then I watched this one, and it's like the commercials are doing the thing where it's like you have to pay attention to like the taglines because they say when you want to escape reality but you don't want to go anywhere. Like they're throwing it in our face at this point.
Yeah.
Hydra soap. That's Agents of Shield. Right?
Yeah,
There was an episode where Coulson is like talking about like mind control soap or some weird. It's a throwaway line, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But then you know how the writers do what they do over here at Marvel. So like, oh, we're gonna get them with this one. Oh my god.
I also saw people talking about how like normally soap doesn't come in a cube-shaped box, and that it was cubed and blue, so maybe it's supposed to like be the Tesseract in her mind.
So used to
Also,
come in
we saw
cube-shaped
our first
boxes in
child.
the 70s.
Oh, it did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I saw our first child in the show, except it was in an ad like the commercial. So I still don't know if that counts.
Yeah. All right, but let's talk about the kids. I mean, it's like, did you have something to say? Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the kids. I mean, we officially have Tommy and Billy, two great American names, apparently. In the comics, of course, Wiccan and Speed, and I had like a passing understanding of like who Wiccan was. Kind of forgot about Speed. And I was doing more research on them, and the article, and I think it was from Polygon, was like, if they exist, the answer is both yes, but they died, only in an alternate reality, all at the same time.
Oh, clearly easy to understand.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So the TLDR of their history is Wanda had them, but it turned out that, you know, where's she gonna get a baby from? Because Vision can't do that. So she kind of just willed these kids into existence like she was her own Virgin Mary, and apparently used some like what they called hell energy, and Mephisto wanted the energy back, and basically in doing that took the kids away, which made her go really upset. But he wasn't able to take away all of it, so they're resurrected as two separate kids. Yes, Austin.
No, I just thought it was funny
forget
how she was
something.
weird.
Oh,
And then
they're
Austin
copying.
did it, and I went, he's making fun of, like, he's teasing me, and I forgot what I was going to say.
It's fine, yeah.
Oh no!
Oh, I remember what it is. I now have the feeling that WandaVision isn't going to be the last time we see Billy and Tommy, because at Investor Day, they said America Chavez is going to be in,
Loki.
Multiverse?
Oh, multiverse. Yeah.
Yeah. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and since they tie in and they're on the Young Avengers with America Chavez, like, she's their team leader in that universe, and is part of the reason they end up there.
Do you want to add the detail that Speed was born first? Speed was born before Wiccan, so I thought that was nice. That was nice.
The only thing I didn't like in this episode was that the doctor never was like, "No, you're having twins."
They didn't know that in
Like,
the
we all
70s.
knew they were having twins. Yeah, you did, Jordan, and you can hear both heartbeats.
I thought it was really... It wasn't as accurate back then, right? Like, they didn't have sonograms.
No, you could hear their heartbeat.
You could argue because like it was all in the process of a day, like maybe the baby just was not even there at that point. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like
I think the second one just... I think the second one's... The first one's, I think, conception and gestation period, I think, happened within the course of the episode. That second one was like 5 seconds just made.
Like, she was like, I don't want to fight about the names. I'm gonna create another one so we
Yeah.
each get the name we wanted.
It's a My Sister's Keeper situation,
Even
but for a name.
Even though I knew they had twins when another one came, I was still surprised. I was the one stupid person. I was like, "Oh, there's another baby."
It was oddly
Oh, see,
like delayed, but also at the same time like super fast. Like
speed, telling you. But when you're stupid, those things actually work.
Yeah.
Oh,
I also, for some reason, thought that they had one boy and one girl, but I was like, oh no, that's Sue and Reed Richards. So I
It's
just,
because every time there's twins in a comic, it's a boy and a girl.
yeah,
Like,
you got to keep the balance.
yeah.
But
perfectly
yes.
balanced.
So now I'm starting to wonder: is like, do you guys think we're actually going to see Mephisto, or like, it's that the Mephisto thing will come into play?
maybe in Multiverse of Madness.
I don't think in this. I think throwing in Mephisto at the end of this is just going to add confusion. And that if you built towards that and then confirmed it in Multiverse, it might work a little bit better.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because it also just gives more time to Google who the fuck Mephisto is.
Mm-hmm.
Because you gotta, yeah. So we have what 3 hours of like television left in this season.
Yeah, let's talk
6
about that for a
episodes.
second, because I thought this was going to be
Yes.
like the mid-season point, because everywhere was saying, oh, it's a 6-episode series, 6-episode series. Then after last week's episode, a lot of places started reporting it was 9.
Yeah.
So Marvel's just given us these 3 episodes that I don't know if they're the 3 at the end, if they're 3 in the middle, and probably at the end, but it's like, how long are they going to be? I don't think they're doing any more decades, so like,
Yeah. Well, they run out too. Like, realistically, sitcoms were dead by 2013. No new ones were being made. It was whatever was running, and then when they were done, it was done.
Yeah, and all the
Except for Last Man Standing. But
current ones take place in the past.
yeah.
Right? Like the Goldbergs is the 80s. There's what are other
That's in the
current-
70s, but that's not even on it anymore. The Goldbergs ended.
Yeah, and
The
it's like-
one of the only
I don't watch them.
Yeah.
only sitcoms left on TV that is releasing new episodes is Last Man Standing.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's just Tim Allen.
I do watch Fresh Prince every once in a while. That's a great show.
Yeah.
I'm so
gotta
ready for the 80s and 90s episodes.
I gotta watch that reunion special, man. That's
I heard that was good, yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
But yeah, now that we have 3 more episodes than we expected, is like, oh, the slow pull of the curtain is okay, because like they're gonna catch up. They have the time.
Mhm.
Totally agree.
Yeah, because thinking that they only had an hour and a half left, I was a little nervous after this episode that I was like, all right, we're starting to get to that point that it's not making sense and you don't have. But now that it's 9 episodes, it's less concern. I wish we had more Catherine Hahn in this episode.
Oh, I know.
I felt deprived.
Because especially
know.
at the end when she like
Yeah.
says that line and gets on her bike, I was like, I missed you this episode.
Yeah. Like, I would watch an
It's the
entire
same
show
line.
just for her.
She says the same line that his heart says. Stop it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens with Catherine Hahn's episode. Or with Catherine Hahn's character.
Mhm.
Just gonna be
Like,
really
where
excited for a
we're-
Catherine Hahn episode.
I want a sitcom
Her
that's
day.
just Catherine Hahn's character.
Maybe that's what they wasted one of the 3 extra episodes on, is like you just see a whole episode where it's like Catherine Hahn and Vision married, and then he wakes up and it's like a nightmare, like one of those episodes.
Cuts to that it is her character from Parks and Rec, just in a different universe.
Oh my
Like, there's a
God.
parallel universe where it's the same person, and it's in Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Love it.
She'll convince Vision to run for Congress.
Exactly.
No, please. Can we talk about how Scarlet Witch makes the butterflies on the mobile alive? Now that means so many things for what the show could be.
Well, yeah, okay. So it seems like you're bringing something already. So what are you thinking about it?
I don't know. All I know is that an assumption can be made that none of these people exist.
Yeah.
That she can bring beings alive from nothing, which Jordan touched on earlier, or all these people could be dead and then brought back alive. You know, or with her magic, they could be drawings in a book.
That's what
Like I don't know.
That's what I was gonna say. Is these are looked at as being alive, but the truth is they are figments of her imagination. So she's not actually creating life, because that would be
Are they?
horrifying. Well, no, I think at this point we've established that she's taken a section of like a suburb like hostage, and the other thing in this episode is like they're starting to realize.
Yeah.
Okay. So I gotta bring this up because I saw this comment on Reddit and it blew my mind about the show. And so apparently there's a city called Hackensack, New Jersey, near Westview, New Jersey, and in the middle of Hackensack is a giant cemetery. And like literally like she could have like not like brought people back to life, but like taken the memories from
Souls.
yeah, like because Catherine Hahn and I can't remember the other dude's name. The dude chainsawing through the Herb, yeah. Like they recognize that Geraldine is not like one of them, and she's alive, and she came into that world.
Huh.
Because I think holding control over people's reality, like a town full, that's like insane. Like just in terms of like quote unquote power. Whereas like somehow like constructing a reality in the middle of a cemetery with like dead people's memories or whatever, like that wouldn't be as like taxing you, I would just imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they weren't the same people each episode, I was gonna be like, maybe it's like as she walk. This is gonna sound fucked up. But like as she walks through the cemetery, people die at different decades. And she's like, oh, and it'll be the 50s decade, the 60s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Assuming this graveyard goes in chronological order.
Because someone said like Mr. Hart, right? Like he choked at that dinner and then he just never shows up in any of the other episodes.
But
and
neither does
maybe...
Mrs. Hart.
Yeah, she does. She's at the talent show.
Oh, I missed her.
Yeah, she's sitting at a table at the talent show.
Interesting.
But people were like thinking like maybe he choked like in real life and then that's how he died. Yeah. So there it was just insane of like.
It does bring an interesting dynamic to how they react to Geraldine, though, that I didn't think about that now that you just brought it up, that the reason they're so like turned off by her isn't the fact that she's an agent from SWORD. It's more so theoretically, it's more so she's alive. She does not belong here. That creates the question. I'll hold on. That creates the question. What was Herb gonna say? So my first assumption until you said this was he was gonna say they were trapped, but now I think he was gonna say because we're dead.
Either way, it's if she alerts Wanda to what, because like yeah, we were saying earlier, like Wanda either is in complete control or she, like at worst she is in control, like or she might be in control, but just like, but like if she somehow ends whatever's going on and these people are dead, then they would cease to like they would really be dead. You know what I mean? Like so maybe that's why Agnes and her didn't want Vision to be clued in on what was going on. And why they're so concerned about Geraldine is as if the jig is up, then, you know, they're done.
I definitely think that Wanda is like she's losing control, and you're seeing that, which means she is in control. And the second she starts to slip, and like, you know, we saw that her powers were getting a little bit more unstable because of the pregnancy. So it's like, well, if it's just changing the jackets, what's it doing to like this bigger world she's creating? And, you know, you see that thing with Herb kind of cutting through the brick wall. You see people starting to realize stuff and like have a general idea as to what's going on. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if, like, because her powers are slipping, she's not kind of keeping the truth intact, and people are like, "Oh, we're catching on."
Also, Kat Dennings and Darcy and Agent Wu are in the next episode and in every episode
After.
following. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're in episodes 4 to 9.
Spoilers.
They're all in it. Yeah. Kat Dennings liked a tweet, and then everybody went to IMDb and saw that like it's listed that they're both in episodes 4 through 9. And so's Monica, but I
How
mean,
dare she like a tweet?
she liked some
How dare she
tweet
like-
about like when she'd appear. And I also think it's really interesting that those are the two characters included because they're the only two actors from the MCU who have been on sitcom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Because
cool.
Jimmy Woo was in Fresh Off the Boat and she was in Two Broke Girls. Which were both that like mid 2000s sitcom style.
Yeah, and Randall Park's done a lot of comedy in his time, like I don't know what you call it, resume. He's played Kim Jong Un. In the interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco.
Yes.
Yeah.
Famous movie. Infamous, actually.
Infamous,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you guys? I want to say I think rewinded my episode, the first viewing, like 2 or 3 times. Like pretty much every time Wanda like altered reality, I like thought my TV, especially the one at the end when, right after she yeets Monica.
Eats.
I'm like,
Yeats.
I was like, because that cut too was so sinister in terms of like it really was like
Yeah,
it
it
made
was.
it look like
It was
like
such
your
an.
internet was messed up.
It was such an abrupt cut rather than like the rewind thing that I read a lot of people being like, I really thought my internet dipped.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
and because like this happened a couple times when I watched Mandalorian, like right off the jump, it would like pixelate or do something weird for like 10 seconds or so, and so after that happened, then when that happened on Friday, I was like, oh no, is this happening again? I was like, wait, no, it's intentional. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I think we touched on this last time, but it's like she's not only trying to like keep this, charade going. It's like she's trying to also prevent Vision from realizing.
Yeah, and Vision seems to have some sort of agency. Like, I'm did I was wondering, like, did Shield or Sword or somebody rebuild Vision? Because Shuri somehow like was backing up some of his data before he got killed, and like it wasn't her exact vision that she remembered, so she created this alternate reality. Like it just seems like Vision has some sort of agency that every other character doesn't, besides Wanda, obviously.
He is starting to become more autonomous as the show goes on. But and like we saw her, puppet him in the first episode, but even then he still had some sense of like he existed within the office. So like
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like he can leave her and still do things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Elkin. We get a home scene of like that couple where like she's like, do these earrings make me look fat or something? And then the power goes out and he's like, oh, thank you.
Dottie and Phil.
Yeah.
Phil.
No,
Yeah.
the one person I can't freaking name ever. Dottie. Yeah, that one.
Dottie's a dumb name.
So yeah, the reason why I asked about Mephisto before is I saw some people thinking that Dottie might be Mephisto because we see the red on her hands. And
It's the bunny.
It's the rabbit.
It's the rabbit. No, and then there were people pointing out that like when Dottie said the devil's in the details, and Agnes goes, that's not. He's not just there. She said something like that. It's like, well, she was implying that she was calling Dottie the devil, like the devil of around town. But we all know that the show doesn't really waste any space with their lines.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna end up being Mephisto.
Yeah.
I'd rather the rabbit be Mephisto. And I say that completely
Yeah,
honestly. I
rabbit.
legitimately would like the rabbit to be Mephisto because it's just stupid. Or Agnes's husband that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag
If-
Devil
One and
Bunny.
the same. One and the same. Bunny, husband, Mephisto.
That's true. I mean, he could be all of them. But yeah,
Yeah, I wonder.
Shapeshift into a rabbit, you put me in their home, and I'll put hell energy in her so that she can have children.
I wonder
Can't fail.
if we're gonna get like an actual actor for Agnes's husband, and if that's gonna be like a giveaway of Mephisto kind of being in this show for real.
yeah. So
I can see it being just like a CGI form of him, and then later on getting an actor for him. I'm not sure how that would work, but
it's a little. So Agnes seems to know more than she lets on, which we've known for a while. And Agnes, as
Right.
you know, knowing who her character is in the comics, we know she's also another witch. So a lot of people assume that she was sent in there to also help Wanda, but she has a home because people don't question her. Like, she lives on the street, so
she's the
wondering-
neighbor.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's their next door neighbor.
Liren.
I'm curious if it's going to be revealed that Wanda was sent to find Agnes. Because in the comics, Agnes also helps Wanda get over Vision's loss. Because basically, when Vision dies, she loses control of her powers and just starts doing like really shitty stuff. And so they send her to find Agnes. And that's when Agnes becomes that mentor and teaches her how to like use her emotions to control her powers. That like very stereotypical, like you
Yeah.
have to be in complete control thing. So I'm curious if that's what we're gonna find out, is that like Westview's not an accident. Like she came there for a reason.
Interesting.
Instead of just like dropping down in a random suburb. It's like, this is mine now. I'm gonna put you in my own reality bubble. Sorry.
It could have been any. It could have been any suburb. It
still-
could have been Poughkeepsie.
I think they're dead. I think they're
Yeah.
dead.
And now
I
that
think they're
Brett brings that up, I really like the idea of the cemetery, and because the way that dynamic of like them as being Herb and Agnes just not liking the idea of Geraldine at all, like that brings a new dynamic to it that makes so much sense. Where they're just like, why is she here? She needs to leave. She doesn't belong here.
And because Geraldine doesn't show up in episode 1, she shows up in episode 2,
Mhm.
and she shows up after the helicopter crashes into her world.
Yeah.
Right.
The only reason I think they might not be dead is just because of that scene in the promo where Agnes goes, "Am I dead?" Like when Vision touches her and it zaps her and she goes, "Am I dead?" And he goes, "No, why would you say that?" And she goes, "'Cause you are." Like,
That makes me think that it's more likely that they are dead. I think they're all dead except for Agnes and Scarlet Witch.
oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I didn't realize that you meant that Agnes is also alive. I get it now. Sorry.
She's also alive, but she knows how to blend in better and act as though she belongs.
Yeah, because we did see that in episode 1 and 2 of her almost having a leg up on a lot of the other characters.
Yeah, hence she's the one that stops Herb from saying it because she understands what that would mean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. That is a good catch because, yeah, like although they could reverse double back of like, yeah, like who knows, man? Because they definitely throw people off.
I mean,
with those kind of teasers.
Whether it's like she took over a suburb and these people are trying to realize that they're stuck there and they have to kind of play along with Wanda, or they're just dead people, it's just like, it was weird at the end where it's like, oh, they know they have to put on a show or else they don't make it, or like something bad happens.
Yeah, that too.
I think it's both. I think she took over a suburb. I don't know what this means for the people that are alive in the suburb, but there's something about it that makes me think that all the people that are interacting in the sitcoms, as we put it, are dead, lost souls. Maybe not lost, but you know what I mean. They're dead. So, like maybe the people that are alive are just like
The laugh
permanently
track.
sleeping or something. Which can make, if they're all permanently sleeping, then they could participate as well. They're just not dead.
Yeah.
The other thing that it really reminds me of is, have you guys ever seen the Twilight Zone episode Monsters Are Due on Maple Street?
No.
It's an episode of the Twilight Zone from really early in the show where basically aliens trap an entire suburb street in a bubble. And it's like Yeah, they trap them in this bubble and are like, start implying that one of the family, like something random starts implying that one of the families are aliens, and so the street starts tearing each other apart, trying to figure out who are the aliens and like who needs to be kicked out, and that they're basically going to eat each other alive. And then the episode pans out at the very end, and you see aliens watching them from space, and it's like it's starting to give me that Twilight Zone vibe.
Yeah,
I'm just doing this because I want to remember something. She's bringing up this Twilight Zone stuff where the doctor goes on where the doctor tries to go on vacation is Bermuda. So I want to bring that up. Bermuda Triangle, all that nonsense, like another weird shit happens in Bermuda.
You're right.
Hard stuff.
I didn't put an emphasis on Bermuda, but I was like, the reason why I really think it's just a street is because like they wouldn't even let his car broke down in his driveway, not on the road at the edge of town.
That's a good point too. Yeah.
So it's like they can't.
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go. They are not allowed to leave.
Huh. But that's weird though, because they mention in the first episode, maybe the second, they mention Hackensack, where the place where Mr. Hart buys his knockoff bowling trophy. For some reason, that was really hard for me to remember and say at the same time, but I got it out.
No.
But yeah, so that implies travel, I guess, is what I'm getting at. I don't know. It's stupid.
But like just saying it, you know what I mean? Like the doctor knows Bermuda exists and that there is a way to book a flight. So it's like, yeah, it's more when you try to physically leave that things get wonky.
Mm.
I have two random things to just point out.
Yeah.
Because they're the last two things in my notes. I just want to get them out. Hexagons are everywhere. I don't know.
Yeah, there was like a
Are
little.
you good? Did I do
It wasn't you. There was just like a screech or a beep that came through. I don't know whose end it
I
was.
was just scared the shit out of me.
It's Mephisto.
I said the word hexagon, and I was like, is she terrified of hexagons? Did I do something? Yeah, but there are hexagons all over the show. All over the show. I don't know if that has any significance, but there are hexagons everywhere.
So I really don't. I saw someone on Facebook point it out the other day, and I was just like, he was like, I wonder if this means something. I was like, the only thing that comes to mind if someone told me Marvel and hexagons is that the Avengers game in September used hexagons in the background a lot, but that's because they were used AIM, and AIM dresses like beekeepers, and bees use hexagons.
Right. I think there's something similar to the Bermuda Triangle. There's a hexagon over Bermuda as well, where things like within a hexagon shit happens. Anyway, and then the handguns thing that I brought up before with Agnes and the mailman. Herb used handguns in episode 2 when they're at the magic show, and then Herb uses handguns again in this episode. I don't know. That probably means nothing. But I noticed the handguns 3 times now, so it's up there. It's in the noggin.
Hey man, you can't knock at the finger guns.
Yeah, that's totally what it is. They just gotta do it. Gotta get it in there. That's all I got.
Sorry,
That's all my notes.
Kill herself.
No, you're right.
So yeah, I wrote this down. So at the beginning, when the doctor is mentioning like the fruit sizes to Wanda and Vision about like at different stages of the pregnancy, literally at each different time she changes her size in the episode, like it changes to like the different sizes of like the papaya, the pineapple and stuff for like the different month, like the different markers. But you didn't like the papaya joke in the episode?
I did. I was like, oh, Vision's already a dad. The kid's right here because he's making them dad jokes.
I love that joke. That joke had me rolling, man.
I found the honeydew joke funnier than I should have, and Leon was very annoyed by it.
I don't even think it's a joke, Jordan. I think he was just saying a honeydew.
No,
Jordan went, they said in 8 months, at 8 months you're a honeydew. And he goes, it's like honey.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
But you don't have a kid in 8 months. It's 9 months.
But you're getting to that point, and the doctor says it in a matter where he goes, at 8 months, and then he taps as he says the 2 words. He goes, honeydew.
That guy's line delivery.
So there's twins. Honeydew. Two.
That guy's line delivery.
Yo, they named them Billy and Tommy for. Why'd they name them Billy and Tommy when you could have named them Honey and Dew?
Power Rangers. Billy's the Blue Ranger. Tommy's the Green Ranger / White Ranger. Let's get it.
True. You're right. They needed Jason next.
Oh yeah, another thing too that I found online was for the episode 3 intro music, they literally do like a mashup between the Brady Bunch's Sunshine Day and Partridge Family's Get Happy, like chords and instrument. Like they literally combine the two songs. So when I read that, I was like, dude, that is like incredible. I didn't even pick up
I heard
on
the
that.
song. I heard the song in English this time. For
Good.
the record, no doubt.
Oh yeah, yeah. I watched it in German this time just to
feel
Just
something.
Oh, man.
Sokovian.
I will say, thank God that they didn't go. The Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family are known for having musical numbers, and I was so hesitant going into the 70s episode that there was going to be a stupid homage to like the musical numbers.
Or like the
I'm so
variety
happy
show
they did it.
episodes.
Yeah,
You don't
it
like
was
you don't like musical episodes?
rule no. As a rule, I don't think they work. There are
They already got a musical number in episode 1.
sure
Vision sings. I don't remember what he sings,
yak
but
yak.
Yeah.
Yakety Yak. Yeah.
Yak yak.
Mark off the list. Musical number gone.
Done. No more. Because like the Partridge Family, like that was their thing. Is they traveled and sang. Like that was their whole shtick, and I was very concerned that we were going to get a musical number, and I'm so happy that we didn't. Just
I don't
because,
think
like,
so.
yeah, like we just need some semblance of like something that I can hold on to, and then breaking out into song is not
Yeah.
for me.
As the person who's not into sitcoms and stuff like that, I would love a musical number. A Marvel music. Are you kidding me? A Marvel musical number? Let's
I
go.
love a
Let's
Marvel
get it.
musical number,
all
but I
characters,
don't necessarily
Vision
want it
singing?
between Wanda and Vision. I kind of want the whole cast there.
That's why I want it, because it would be so weird. Love it.
I want and I want this to be canon, but I want to see that like a scene that takes place between Infinity War and Endgame where all the Avengers are just in a studio holding hands singing a cover of We Are the World. Like that was one of the charity
Why?
things they did after the snap.
Gotcha.
Dark.
Not after the blip, after the snap.
Yeah, after the snap, like after like the world lost something. We need to fix it.
Hate the fact that somebody would have done that. Like in the post-blip world, there would be some stupid like celebrity singing.
Yeah, like when the celebrity sang Imagine after a week inside.
Week in quarantine, we got celebrity singing Imagine.
Oh my, we
Like-
cracked so fucking early. We learned who the weakest of our society was.
Me.
Jordan.
Oh man, I gotta watch that video again. I need a good laugh.
I hate it. I hate
What else we got? What else we got?
Oh fuck, there was one more thing.
There is it's not like a it's kind of just something that I looked into, but when Geraldine Monica was eating the apple, that's like when she committed the like sin of like letting Wanda in on like that she kind of knew like other stuff was up, and then she gets like kicked out. So I just thought that was like an interesting parallel of like from the Bible.
Yeah.
Wanda slipping back into her accent was scary, but also just like, oh, like this isn't even like a. I know a lot of people like to say like her accent is inconsistent throughout the movies, but like it is a thing that for people who speak multiple languages, their accent will get heavier because they know they can't go into their native language if no one understands it. But it is what feels comfortable, but obviously people need to help you and understand you. So their accent will just get heavier because they're not trying.
Mm-hmm.
And then like when she was doing the Sokovian lullaby, like all creepily, I was just like, it was like a nice scene, but I was like, oh man, like I'm scared, I'm uncomfortable.
The song playing at the end of the credits was Daydream Believer by the Monkees. So obviously that song and lyrics in that, but then also Davy Jones was in an episode of Brady Bunch. Yeah, I think so. Brady Bunch. And so there's like all that interesting dynamic of like all these like references kind of like looping in on each other, which is pretty cool.
I also found out this week that the first 2 episodes were actually filmed in front of a live studio audience, and like I
Oh.
didn't realize that that's not a laugh track in the first 2 episodes. It's a live studio audience.
Well, I remember telling you before the show came out, I was like, all I want to do is, all I want to hear in one of these episodes is the start of WandaVision was filmed in front of a live studio audience. But I figured I wouldn't get that till the 80s or 90s when that was like a
Yeah.
thing.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, imagine
Also-
signing that NDA.
That was my thing. I was like, that's terrifying. I would be like, I don't
Well,
care.
how
I'm not
much
gonna
of
do
that?
it.
How much of that could they even have filmed?
The entirety of the first episode could have been
What?
filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, and then just take care of the other stuff. in
Live
post, I
audience
guess.
was just like crew members. They're just crew members working on it. They're like, yeah.
Yay! But yeah, because of the way the set is, the first episode easily could have been filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Because that's all one big set piece.
I'm assuming that all stopped due to COVID.
It partly stopped due to
We know-
COVID. They said that part of it had stopped due to COVID, and part of it had stopped just because they didn't want live studio audiences for more important episodes. Because, like, if somebody in the studio audience had spoiled the first episode, it would have sucked, but, like, nothing huge would have been revealed. We already knew they were hinting at Sword from Far From Home. So, like, it was not the end of the world.
And I also, I would assume that the guy in the back of the truck watching it, like, that wasn't something that was probably filmed, but, like, the main meat of the episode, like, what happens? Oh, they have a weird interaction with Vision's boss and his wife, and there's a weird moment when Wanda puppets Vision around. Like, we still didn't know much, and yeah.
Yeah, like, it's not the end of the world, where when you get into the 70s, 80s, 90s, like, obviously bigger things are going to be coming out of that, and, like, that shit getting spoiled would be annoying.
Yeah.
I'm looking for, there was another reference, but I'm trying to find.
I'd also
my
think
notebook.
that if any of the other sitcom decades were filmed, it's like the sitcom stuff was, but the outside stuff wasn't, as we start to see more of the outside.
Yeah.
Also, just like that classic sitcom, like trope of like how like the outside of their house has like a certain set of like window panels, and then like inside it's like stained glass windows, and it's like not even remotely the same like
Yeah.
kind of like design.
But no, that's what I'm saying. Like this show loves to pay attention to those tiny details, and I think that's why it's so good. It's like they're committing to every aspect of it. And like there is no wasted space in the show with like the lines and the references. And I noticed a lot of people were talking about when Vision decides to like give his argument for Billy, he goes for William Shakespeare and mentions the quote about how everyone's a actor and the whole world's
stage.
Yeah, the whole world's a stage. Yeah,
All
it's
the
like,
world's a stage.
I know. So yeah, it's like he's basically what?
I hate that quote.
Um,
I hate it so
Yeah,
much.
but like it works so well for what we're starting to see is going on.
No, it absolutely does. I just hate the quote.
But you got against
It was an
Bill
odd
Shakespeare.
choice, right?
I like Shakespeare.
It was an odd choice to put here.
Yeah, like it's just like,
It's an odd choice to put in this sitcom related thing. Yeah.
and it's like, are we establishing then Vision is British, or is he just really like Shakespeare? Like, we've never been given that Vision is interested in any of those things, or that Vision is actually like he's a robot. He's not, like I don't know.
As interests.
Yeah, like what are his
Aw.
interests? Are we establishing that like in this world he's British?
Well, I mean, like in Civil War, right? You see him take initiatives of like learning how to cook and stuff, and for Wanda. So, like, I think he
Yeah.
does have some sort of like humanity to him.
Nobody
Yeah.
dislikes you, Wanda.
Everyone's afraid of you. That quote's coming back.
There are a
yeah.
lot of people that dislike you, Wanda, and that's okay.
There's a very specific
Everyone
town
dislikes
that dislikes you, but we just don't have to go there ever again.
Dude, Ant-Man in Civil War, where he's like, "Oh, Captain America, thanks for including me in your team," and then he turns back to Wanda. He's like, "Hey, I know you too.
Yeah.
Like you."
I know you. You're great.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Ant-Man so much.
Super people.
He kind of reacted like how any of us would if we met them. We're like, oh shit, hi.
Okay, so something that I forgot to bring up earlier, but um, uh, Kang the Conqueror, who is going to be in Ant-Man and Quantumania, has connections with Mephisto, uh, who has connections with Wanda and Vision, obviously. So like there is this way of whatever happens in this show could play into Ant-Man 3 because Kang's going to show up in that. So would love to
Interesting.
see some more Ant-Man action with Wanda.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ant-Man makes sense to bring in to like now that they've fully committed, the multiverse is a thing. Like we're going full force into it. Ant-Man's somebody who makes sense for him to be there because of all of his shit with the quantum realm.
Yeah.
That like it would make sense that they would be like, hey, you know what the fuck you're doing, come here.
Well, yeah, I was also gonna say it's like because we really don't know much about Monica yet. Is like, did she have the ability to leave the reality as she wanted, or was she forced in there and was gonna plan to stay till it worked? But then no, it was like she was pushed out. Like, is it possible she comes back in?
Yeah.
I feel like their escape route and entrance route, I guess, always kind of changes because if that weren't the case, they would have just kept coming in the sewer like the beekeeper, or they would have kept coming by helicopter until that was changed. And
There,
but I feel like once you're in until they find another way in or out.
Yeah.
there was yeah, that's a good point of how there was the helicopter crash and there was the sewer, and then in the newspaper fold, like you don't see the whole word, but you see fire, like two fire Hydra, like on the paper as it's like kind of like folded, and so I just thought that was interesting because like I don't know, I don't remember reading anything in like a newspaper about like fire hydrants being built. So I wonder if like that has something to do with like them trying to break in a new way through some construction process.
Yeah. I was curious if why it kept changing is because they have to look for weak spots in that weird like force field that they show at the end, where it's like
Yeah.
that purpling color is that like they have to come in at different points because she sees, oh, they can come in through the sewer, that gets strengthened. They can't come in that way.
Yeah.
Now we gotta find a new way to get in.
Yeah.
Um
And I don't know if like using the quantum realm is like something they have to consider at the very end.
Maybe Ant-Man can just
and quantum realm.
really, really small and just walk through it,
Or
Yeah.
or run through it because it might take him a little bit to get through the barrier.
or
Give him a little
get to that spot before she like warps the reality bubble, and then
good point. Yeah,
then they're caught in there.
he's there already. We just don't see him because he's so tiny. He's so
Yeah.
small.
He's been there the entire time.
Yeah, he's stuck in
Watching.
tiny.
Imagine it's because she's in the different eras, his tech doesn't exist yet, so he's just stuck small. Just like, well,
Oh
fuck.
no.
Here we go.
Well, now he can have it because Hank made it in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also I really liked Monica's monologue about being a working woman, especially because it's Monica. Just because that's such a big thing in Captain Marvel about women in men's roles in society, or what's deemed as like a man's role in society, that I'm really excited to see where that goes, because it looks like they're going to explore it, but I'm excited to see what we learned about her, because like obviously right now we don't know shit about her. We don't know how she got from being a 9-year-old to where we are now, and like that's just really what I want now, is I want to know like how she ended up with Sword, etc.
Yeah. As from how she got there from being a 9-year-old, that's just called time. It's a little thing you may have heard of.
It's a flat circle. We don't know how time works
Exactly.
in Marvel. Come on.
That's true. It is a
Yeah.
flat circle, especially in Wanda's universe. It's not even a flat circle. It's just a flat street. Lobster
Flat
gets
street,
thrown
that's a
this
good way to
way,
put it.
comes back there.
It's a I don't know what it's called. the term Tony Stark uses to create time travel, like a Freudian loop. I'm pulling that out of my ass. But something strip. I'm talking about.
Morbius strip.
Yeah,
It's
that's it.
It's a Morbius strip.
And Morbius. Okay, guys, let's start putting the things together. Coincidence.
Yes.
I need them
Yes.
to not make Venom important. I
I'm
need them
kidding.
to not make Venom important.
I'm kidding.
Man, I
my
like
God,
Venom so
yeah.
much though.
Is the
No. When there an actual line in Venom was something along the lines of a turd in the wind, it lost me.
I still have to see it. I still need to see Venom.
There's a legitimate. I think it's near the end. It might be like one of the last thing he says. I don't remember, but he says like, "I'm always there, like a turd in the wind." I'm like, what does that mean?
I thought he called Eddie Brock a turd.
Maybe. Like I said, I don't know. That movie's
Yeah,
bad.
like listen, turd in the
anything
wind,
about
turd
it, really.
in the wind is bad enough. But if he referred to himself as "I'm always there," like a turd, I'd be like, "Who the fuck wrote this?" If he calls someone else a turd in the wind, like I'll brush it off.
Okay, fair
Don't
enough. Yeah.
trust that actor, but regardless. I want to know, like, we're really getting to that point where I'm like, I need to know what's happening. I
Yes.
want more
And it's like
outside.
next week they have to give us something of at least
Yeah. Since
like a track. Like they have to be like, this
you
is what's
brought up-
going on, and give us a rough idea of the track.
Yeah.
What
right, since you brought up earlier, Lee Aaron, that they're bringing in Wu and Darcy or whoever, like that gives me a lot of hope that now it's going to start chugging along more, and we're going to get more like cracks or those moments where Scarlet Witch has to defend what's going on here. So
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
excited.
that's a line in one of the episodes, I think the Halloween episode, that was in promo where they were like, "This is our home, we have to fight for it." And like, we still don't know what that's referencing. Like, is
Yeah.
that just the outside world, or
I basically think
yes.
Wanda is going to look at Sword as the bad guys, so she's going to fight them. How successfully? I don't know.
Vision's gonna put it all together and tell Wanda she has to let him go, because that's really what I'm not ready for.
He's
Is a
dead.
heartfelt moment
Dude.
between the two of them.
I'm gonna cry, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just want
Vision's
someone
dead?
else to pull her out. Yeah. I think
What's going to
think-
happen is
Go
go on.
I think Vision's
gonna happen.
Vision's dead. Sorry.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I think Vision's dead. At the end, they're gonna have to kill him again, essentially, like let him stop existing. But then through some Scarlet Witch magic, they're gonna take that soul that was just created and put it into what was recovered body from what Shuri got, and then it's gonna recreate Vision, and they're gonna be happy, and they might have 2 kids now.
Hole to stay there, where Thanos ripped part of his head out. I just want that to stay.
What if they? I think they should replace that with like a little tuft of hair.
Ooh, I like that.
Just got a little
That's a
toupee
lot.
that covers it up.
Yes.
Give him the Yondu arrow.
Oh,
Take it from that.
Ooh.
Take
yo,
it from that one dude.
that arrow is so OP.
Dude, it is.
That is the
I watched
best
Guardians
weapon.
2 the other day, and like he takes down that whole ship.
That is the best weapon in the MCU, and I am counting the Infinity Gauntlet. I am counting the shield. Like,
I will say it's the coolest.
Okay.
It is not necessarily the most effective.
I said what I said.
I know
Arguing
you
the
did.
Infinity Gauntlet is by definition more powerful, but you know.
Okay, so what 80s shows do you think are gonna get riffed on in next episode? If it's 80s inspired.
And they're probably not going to do Full House, right? Because of the Olsen thing. Like,
And, well, Full House also, you have to remember, didn't start until 1987.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
A
later.
majority of its run is in the 90s. It was only the first 3 episodes or the first 3 seasons when they still didn't really know what they were doing with the show that were in the 80s. My guess for the 80s is it's going to be like Married with Children.
Married with Children was also late 80s.
Yeah. That's more because of what she's wearing, and her hairstyle reminds me of the hairstyle in Married with Children. I have a feeling the Golden Girls is not going to get referenced just because I don't know how they would do it because
Thank
they're
you
old.
for being a friend.
I'd be okay with it, but like, and then there's like,
We'll just cut to Deadpool somewhere,
yeah.
and he'll mention the Golden Girls for no apparent reason, and then they'll cut
Yeah.
back.
So it's probably gonna be Growing Pains, Facts of Life, Family Ties, Who's the Boss is the big 80s sitcom with Alyssa Milano, and I don't remember who plays the dad in Who's the Boss.
Tony Danza.
Yeah. Punky Brewster.
Yeah.
Alf is a big 80s one.
Oh no.
They can't do, and then like Three's Company.
Scared?
What?
Alf scares
Oh,
me.
it's
I remember seeing that as
terrifying.
a child, and I was like, no.
Also, that the only reason I think they're going to reference it is Alf ends with the U.S. government descending upon the house and kidnapping him and taking him to Area 51.
Jesus.
That's how the series ends.
They probably won't. They probably won't like do a reference to Cheers, right? Because like that takes place in a bar.
Yeah, because that I don't think they'll make a references to Cheers. I don't think there will be a reference to Different Strokes. I don't see how they can do a reference to Three's Company just because it doesn't lend itself to that. Because what people forget is that like they're in a polyamorous relationship in Three's Company.
Wait, are they?
Yeah.
Huh. I just thought it was
It
like
doesn't-
taboo because he lived with them.
It is also that, but he dates both of them, if I remember correctly. Three's Company was never one of my favorites, so I might be misremembering
No,
that. But
he dates both of them. That doesn't mean they're polyamorous. Those are very different.
There's overlap, though. If I remember correctly, there's overlap. Roseanne is also a huge 80s. That started in the 80s. I don't.
I do want
No.
to say I want a Cheers reference because I want Drunk Vision again. He just goes in there, hacks a pack of gum, and he's like, I'm one of the boys.
Maybe he's like, maybe just goes, oh honey, I'm gonna go out with the guys tonight. And he walks in and they're like, Vision, instead of Norm.
Yeah, because what's unfortunate is the big 80s sitcom they can't do. Because it was Happy Days. And Happy Days doesn't take place during the 80s, it takes place during the 50s. So.
Yeah.
And that's like.
They could still do it, right? Like, because
Everything about the Happy Days is the 50s, though.
Yeah.
Like, the dress, the whole thing. It was like the WandaVision of their time. It was a sitcom that took place in a different time.
Yeah, it was like. The other comparison is it was that 70s show of its time. Because it took place about 25, 30 years before the time it aired.
Now I'm imagining like Vision and Wanda and who else? Agnes and like the like stoner
In the circle.
spin. Yeah, dude.
Oh God, I wish.
Yeah.
I mean, I could actually see Married with Children be the one they reference because I mean that's her dream is to be married with children.
The top three I think are going to get referenced is Who's the Boss, Married with Children, and Roseanne. Because those are the big living in the suburb and Growing Pains are the big four because those are the big living in the suburbs, raising your children, shows. It looks a lot like Married with Children and Roseanne just from the way it's shot too.
Is Halloween 80s or 90s?
90s.
Got it. Okay, then I'm gonna have to look up some pictures of the 80s episode.
Halloween is in October.
What?
Well,
Yes.
Halloween.
was it
Thank
the
you.
was it the first episode where they mentioned June 2nd, or what was it? What was the calendar in the first episode? What month was that in?
August.
August. So if that's August, and you'd assume
It was towards the end of August. So then you assume the 60s and 70s take place during September.
September.
Well, yeah, because then it would make sense that in Don't Touch That Dial, in the second episode, that they're raising money for kids' schooling because it would be back to school time.
For what kids? They don't exist.
Well, yeah.
For
This
the
is the
children.
thing, is
They
I'm
do
curious
now.
to see if it's for children
They do
because
now.
we have to.
Now you're right. You're right. You got me.
Yeah, like we got kids. I have a feeling Agnes is gonna have a child all of a sudden. Just because.
You're the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
unless-
that's my other thing too.
So if they do accelerated aging for the kids and they're like teenagers by episode 8 or something, and they're in school or something, all of a sudden there's kids that
And-
skateboarding everywhere.
And like my other thought process was when we were talking about last week that there are kids in the background of the Halloween episode. Like you can really lean into in the 90s episode, the Kimmy Gibbler, the Urkel, like that annoying next door neighbor character from Full House, Sister, like so many sitcoms that have that character.
Go home, Roger.
Yeah.
They quoted Urkel in episode 3.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, did I do that? It wasn't exactly like that, but when she did the mobile, I believe.
Yeah.
I had a thought that only blackout drunks and Steve Urkel have. Did I do that?
Did I do that? Oh, John Mulaney.
Anybody who watches these, I need you to make a super cut of every time I reference John Mulaney. Or will we all reference John Mulaney?
Okay, so quick story. So my friend got blackout drunk last night and bet on the Chicago Bulls to win a game, and they are terrible.
How much he lose?
Oh no.
Like $30 or something.
Oh, okay.
Completely random.
You said 30, and I was like, please don't let that end with grand. Please don't let that end.
Oh. No way.
There has to be a responsible person around for those bets. Let's be real.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, is there any last thoughts?
I'm still on board, man. I still don't know where the show's going completely, but they're simultaneously keeping me engaged with the small little nuggets that you get each episode, and then just like the references, the technical ability of the show is just astounding.
Yeah.
I said that I say that last week, but like it's just crazy, man, how good this show is, and
Totally agree.
It's special.
No, but you're right though. Like the level to which they are committing to this has, I think, been one of the reasons why the show is so good. And like they have the right people working on it. They're not messing up the eras or the clothing, anything like that. They're doing it all so well.
They clearly did the work.
And they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't have to either. Like you could have just thrown in a few references here and there and just done the Marvel tie-ins and people would have been happy with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. And the fact that they talked to Dick Van Dyke and they talked to like a bunch of other big names in sitcoms throughout the eras, like that's huge because you can see in everything that everything's specific and meant to be that way.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
The people who made this show, like, I don't think are just telling a good Marvel show. I think they probably grew up and like they're writing their love letter to sitcoms in a way. And like I know that's so corny to say, they're like, oh, it's a love letter to this genre, but like I feel like it truly is.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the director and the showrunner literally said it is a love letter to the golden age of television.
Oh,
so...
I didn't know that. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, no, they straight up said when they were talking about making it that it was a love letter to that like era.
Yeah.
I just imagine that this is just a bunch of fun for them to do too. Like, sure, it's their job, they're getting paid, all that, but I imagine this is probably just a ton of fun for them. Oh, we can do this here. Oh, we can reference this here. They're just having a good time. I can imagine.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Also, Jordan, they do. Kevin Feige confirmed they do reference Full House in a meta reference to make fun of all the shit that surrounded Elizabeth Olsen with Fuller House.
Oh.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they wanted Elizabeth Olsen to come back
As
for
Michelle,
Fuller House,
right?
or to come on to Fuller House and play an older Michelle. Yeah, because the other two were like, "Fuck it, we don't want to be a part of this anymore. Fuck all those people. We don't like any of them. We don't talk to any of them."
Fuck them.
Yeah, literally though, they were like, we don't want to be involved with this, so Fuller House just made fun of Michelle the entire time, and she was just like a butt of the joke. That they're referencing that just because Liz Olsen is in the show.
Okay.
Yeah, so
My closing thoughts would be that I think they're all dead. I'm dead set on that theory. I think they're all dead. I think Vision's dead. I think Agnes and Scarlet Witch are the only ones that are alive, and Geraldine. And I am super excited for it to start ramping up. I do think it makes more sense now that it has 9 episodes instead of 6. But yeah, I'm really excited for episode 4 and going forward for sure.
All right. Well, with that, let's close out Waypoint Media Club. Leon, where can they find you?
they can find me on Twitter at LearnJass.
We'll put it in the description because no one knows how to
And
spell
Orphan
that.
Gamers. What?
We'll put it in the description because no one knows how to spell that. I say
Yeah,
that
and I
lovingly.
always feel weird spelling it out. Like, whenever I say it on any podcast, I'm always like, I should probably spell this, but I'll just put it in show notes. I feel awkward spelling my name.
Brett, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me on twitch.tv/JimTasty, where I stream all sorts of pod racing games each and every day. I try to, at least.
Is there multiple pod racing games?
There are two or three, because there's the Game Boy Color version of the
Fair enough.
movie 3.
All right.
There's a level in Lego Star Wars, I think.
Yeah,
I've played it actually.
Three and a quarter.
Gotcha.
All right, Austin, where can we find you?
People can find me at Austin Ernie. There's an I in the name Austin, or an O. Yep, got it. There's an O in the name Austin _ Ernie. I'll probably put it in the description as well. Jordan can take care of that. Brett, quick question. Just like shorten the version. Jim Tasty, where'd that name come from? I don't personally know this.
So it came from the show All That on Nickelodeon. There's like a sketch with a kid named Jim Tasty, and it just cracked me up and stuck with me when I picked my gamer tag in like 2008, and then I just stuck with that name since.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I was just curious. It's a very eccentric name when your name's Brett. So,
Right.
But hey,
like
we got the inside scoop. This
I'll
info
send
will
you the
forever-
clip after that.
Yeah, this info will forever
Yeah,
be
please.
buried in WandaVision episode 3. Alrighty. And you guys can
How we do
find
it.
me at Jordan_Deeb on Twitter, at twitch.tv/orphangamers at Twitch. And of course, you can find Waypoint Podcast on Twitter, YouTube, and all other podcast services. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.